Hello, my name's Julie. I'm from the Spellbound Bead Company, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Alison necklace. You can go to our website and download the instructions for free. I've prepared my needle ready. I've got 1.3 meters of doubled thread, and I need to start with a keeper bead. Now, a keeper bead is a spare bead, preferably a medium-sized seed bead, that will provide a temporary anchor for my work. I've got a size 6 seed bead here, which I'm going to thread on and bring to about 15 centimeters from the end of the threads. I'm going to make a single simple knot that traps this bead on the thread. Now it won't move, and I can use that as my temporary anchor. When I'm finished, I'll remove it and finish off the thread ends. Now I've pre-prepared my beads here, and according to the recipe I've laid out bead A, which is a Preciosa pip bead, bead B, which is the contrast Preciosa pip bead, some size 10 seed beads, a little pile of the 4mm beads, which are D, and a clasp bead, which is E. I'm going to start the necklace at the clasp. The clasp is made from the E bead, which is a 6mm round, and it's held on with one C bead. Referring to the instructions, I'm going to put on the E bead and a C bead and bring them all the way down to the keeper. I'm now going to pass back through the E bead to bring the C bead up as an anchor. It's really important I don't catch the knot that's holding the keeper bead on, so be careful where your needle goes. And that's the start of my necklace. That will become the clasp with the loop I'm going to make at the far end. Now, looking back at my instructions, I need to put on 12 little seed beads, which are C. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and one of the D beads. And I need to repeat that 5 times. So to save just a moment, I've pre-prepared a length of beading. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the D beads, plus an extra 12 C beads as it tells you in the instructions. Now we're going to start to make the first flower along our necklace. Now the first flower is made in A beads, which are these ones here, and each flower has 6 petals, so I'm going to need 6 A beads. We need to bring them all the way down to our last seed bead and pass through the first A bead. That should bring everything round into a nice neat circle. There we go. I'm going to pull quite firmly. I need to check that my last seed bead is up tight against my first petal bead. Now at the moment that's quite soft, so I need to take the needle around through the beads again to make sure everything is firm. And there's one more to go. There we go. So already the beadwork feels a little bit more firm. Now of course every flower requires a centre, and the centre is made with one of our D beads. I'm going to put the D bead on, and if I look back at the instructions, it tells me that I need to pass through the third A bead around the ring. So this is bead number 1, so bead number 2, bead number 3. And I need to pass through bead number 3 towards bead number 2. So this is bead number 3, this is bead number 2, so the needle has to go that way through bead number 3. Bring our D bead down, there's bead number 3, find the hole, pass the needle through, and there's our first flower on our necklace. And you can see we've got 4 petals below the thread, 2 petals above the thread. When you're wearing your necklace, this arrangement will stop the flowers turning round, so you'll always see them front on. Now looking back at my instructions, I need to add 12 seed beads, just like we did here, until I get to the next flower. Now flower number 2 is in colour B, so I've threaded on 6 colour B pip beads. I'm going to go through the first one just as we did before, and there's my flower. Now if we need to make the flower more firm, so I'm going to go back through, continue on round bead number 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, just to make sure everything's nice and tight and firm. Take your time doing this, because working with double thread, although it makes our flowers very firm, the 2 loops can catch on the beads, so make sure both threads pull through after each stitch. You can see I've left a little bit of thread there. I need to make sure that's pulled through. Right, now we're ready to make the next flower. Pop on my centre bead, I'm just going to flip the flower over, and I'm going to count round 1, 2, 3 beads, and I need to pass through this third petal towards petal number 2. So just the same as before, pass through, watch where those loops of thread are going, and there we are, we now have 2 flowers. I'm just going to make sure the seed beads go to the back. Keep your work neat. Remember what you're trying to achieve. That's a string of flowers showing on top of a string of seed beads, not seed beads in front of flowers. And now we continue. I'm going to leave you for a moment while I go and finish the rest of the flower sequence, and I'll be back to show you how to add the rest of the clasp. On the original necklace there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 flowers, which gives you a really nice front to your design. However, I want to make my particular necklace a little bit shorter, so instead of putting the 9 on, I'm just doing 5. Obviously this makes the necklace itself a little bit shorter, so if you want to do the same thing, don't forget that you might have to add some extra seed beads to either end to make it up to the correct length for your neck. I've put on my 5th flower, and then I've copied the sequence on the first side of the necklace. I just need to put on 1 more D bead and 12 of my seed beads. Now I'm at the same length with both strands. Move that one out the way so I can concentrate on this. Now I need to make a bead loop that will match up with the bead tag I made at the very beginning of the project. At the base of the bead tag is one of our D beads. I'm going to put that on first, and then the instructions tell you to thread on 16 of your seed beads. So that's 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, a few more, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm going to make that into a little loop by passing back through the D bead. Now before I go any further, I need to check that that loop is the right size for the tag I made earlier. This tag bead needs to just fit through the loop. I need to tension the thread so the loop can't sneak a little bit bigger, and just pop that bead through. That's just about right. If it was any looser than that, I'd take off one seed bead. If it was too tight, I'd add one more seed bead to my bead count. Right. Now to finish off the necklace, I'm going to come all the way back down the beads. That makes it stronger, and I'm going to add a few seed beads across the back of the flowers, and that stabilises the flowers. So work your needle back through all the beads. Make sure that you pull through both thread loops, and make sure that you don't miss out any beads. If you miss out a bead, you'll find you've got a kink in your design. As you see, I can fit through quite a few beads at once because I've had lots of practice. If you just need to do 1 or 2 beads at a time, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to come through the last few beads to emerge at the back of the first flower along the design. Now that's the front of the flower, that's where our little centre bead is. This is the back of the flower. As you can see, oops, let's turn that over and untangle myself. There's a gap across the back. We're going to fill that with seed beads. Now we're going to put on 3 seed beads, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to make sure I pick up the first seed bead on the opposite side. In fact, I'm going through 3 there. When I pull through, you can see that makes a nice continuous line across the back of the flower, and it also pulls the seed bead straps behind the flower. So now we've got our little pip bead arrangement sitting proud of our seed bead string. I now need to do that across the back of all of these flowers. So I'll carefully go back through all the seed beads I've already put on. So there's a few more to go before I get to my next flower. Careful I don't catch the thread around the petals. And if we remember, it's 3 seed beads, 1, 2, 3, and make sure you're definitely getting the first seed beads past the flower when you pass through. There we go. We can see we've now got 2 with seed beads across the back, and the flowers are sitting really proud on the front. I shall continue all the way along the strap until I reach back to the keeper bead. I've now completed my stitches behind the flowers. If I flip the design over, you can now see a continuous line of seed beads all the way across the back of the flowers, with 3 little seed beads inserted into each gap. When it's complete, you shouldn't be able to see the insertions. It should look like a continuous line. I've continued with my thread all the way through the seed beads back towards my clasp bead. I've just got a few to go, and I'm going to pop out next to the keeper bead. So it's a few more seed beads, again paying special attention so I don't miss any of the beads, and making sure I don't catch the knot on my keeper bead. Now I'm ready to finish off my threads. This is a really easy finish because we've got our needle thread alongside our keeper bead. We remove our keeper bead, so just pull it off and we can use that again. And now I've got 2 pairs of threads. These are from the keeper bead, these are from the needle. I'm going to tie a knot, just a normal overhand knot, and pull it down between the beads. Make sure it's in the right gap, that the right gap is right against the back of your tag bead, and pull it down again. You can see I've just managed to make a loop of thread there, so let's see which thread it belongs to. That's it, and pull it through. So I've got 2 knots there, one on top of the other. That's going to be really firm. I now need to hide the thread ends. I can't cut them off directly against the knot because I'll leave a little tufty bit and that will come undone. So to neaten, you take the needle back through a few seed beads, and I'm going to come to just the other side of that D bead. Make sure I've pulled the threads through, and I'm going to snip really close. Take my needle off that, and now I need to do the same with my keeper bead threads. So let's re-thread the needle. There we go, one at a time, and I'm going to take these the opposite way. It's always best when you're finishing off threads if you can take them in opposite directions, then the knot can't possibly come undone. One more to go. That's going in the opposite direction too. So my needle threads went that way, my keeper bead threads went that way. A little snip and your design is complete. That's all there is to make the Alison necklace.